Okay. So I want to turn things over to my good friend, Mr. Luke Miseyko. And if I could have one of the co-hosts, please, at the time when it's time, spotlight Luke. Luke, one of the great things about Luke and him giving this message is as a district manager right now, as the number 2 high district manager, new district manager in the whole company, Luke is living what he's about to share with you. He is fresh off the Cutco through college experience. Now, even Andrew, and it's so funny to say, Andrew, you are now a little too old to be fresh off the Cutco through college experience. It's really funny to say that because Andrew used to be the guy, rep, management, leadership academy, branch, options, interviews, killed it. And now he's years removed from that. Well, Luke, just to share a quick story, started when he was in high school, like many of you, worked his way up through leadership academy, multiple years of advancing through management, branch manager, number 2 in the entire country, pilot sales manager, the number 1 apprentice and ranked leadership academy member in all of Florida United at the time. 2 years of doing that, got himself a 5-star resume, a 5-star skill set, a 5-star income. And this is a funny story. Didn't even get through his interview process. In fact, and Luke, you may talk about this, so I don't want to take any shine from your message, but Luke had X amount of interviews to try and get a career job or a post-college job. He ended up canceling the rest of them because he just said, yeah, this is a waste of time. I mean, he had so many people that wanted to interview him. He could cancel a few and said, nah, I already know that I want to, in this case, lucky for us, stay with Cutco. Well, since then, one of the things I can tell that Luke loves is Leadership Academy, and now it's his turn to give that opportunity to a lot of people. So with information on what Leadership Academy is, so this is what I want you to take from the message, how to get into Leadership Academy, and what it can do for you, I give to you our district manager from the Boca Del Rey team, Mr. Luke Miseyko. Luke, you're up, my friend.
Perfect, guys. I'm fired up to give this talk because, it's what Jeff just said. This is really what I love about my job is, we have an opportunity here to create 5-star recruits, and I love the sales rep experience. But what I'll say is the sales rep experience can really change the trajectory of your summer. It can change the trajectory of your whole, college career. But TLA, guys, TLA can change your life. And I think that there's really nothing that can impact the first, 5 to 10 years out of school more than going through our TLA program. And so, what I want to do, I spoke at SC1 about management opportunity and everything like that. And, what I want to do now is dive in more into what exactly is TLA and, give you a sneak peek into some of the lessons and some of the things that we teach. Right. And ultimately, guys, the goal is we want to create 5-star recruits, and we talk about 5-star recruits a lot, and we got to go over what is a 5-star recruit. So, there's 2 things we talk about when it comes to 5-star recruits, and that is, let's see if this line's lined up perfectly. Perfect. We talk about creating options for yourself. And that's something that if you're in my office, you hear me talk about a ton. The ones that are 5-star recruits are the ones that have the most options, right? And opening up opportunities. But there's really a second part to it as well. You need to, first of all, create options, but you also need to learn to maximize those opportunities. It's one thing if you have options, it's another one to really make something of them, right? And that's really what TLA is designed to do, is both create those options for you, as well as prepare you to become who you need to become to maximize those options, right? And, you've heard me say this a ton because this really is one of my life missions, one of the things I'm most passionate about. And, Elon Musk said that I think it's possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. And really, guys, my goal with what I do with Cutco, and really my goal in life in general, is I want to help people realize that ordinary people can become extraordinary, and how does that happen, right? What needs to be put in place? What are the success principles that people need to be extraordinary no matter what they do? I don't care if you're a musician, a doctor, a businessman, whatever it may be, the principles of success are, the same across the board. All right. And for me, my greatest fear in life, my greatest fear is being average. And, Jeff, it was fun preparing for this talk. I was thinking back on some of the first PCs we had, the first like one-on-one conversations. And I remember we were sitting in the diner, and he just asked me, what do I want? What drives me? And I remember in that conversation talking about like, I want to separate myself. I want to be someone that's above average. And then, I remember another time I was sitting down with Jeff right before I ran a branch, and it was, hey, what do you want? And for me, my passion was always, I don't want to be average. I want to separate myself, so how do you separate yourself? That's ultimately what it comes down to, guys. And, most people just go through the motions in life. Most people don't take those extra steps to separate themselves. And, I'm very passionate about the concept of excellence. Our team name here in Boca is the Boca del Rey Excellence. And what is excellence? It's having a standard for yourself that's beyond what other people expect of you. How do you achieve excellence in anything that you do? What is it that you do to achieve excellence? So I want to go through a few just success principles, some things that we teach you in TLA, and quite frankly, it's also the path on how to get into TLA, because those success principles are common no matter what you do in the future. So how do you stand out? How do you separate yourself? How do you genuinely achieve excellence? All right. First thing I want you to write down, remember tomorrow. I love this quote. I heard it from a guy named Jesse Itzler. He's a part owner in the Philadelphia 76ers. He's also trained with David Goggins. He's, look him up. He's a, great growth mentor you guys can look up. But he has a slogan, in every decision you make, remember tomorrow. I'm not a big tattoo guy, but if I ever did get a tattoo, it'd probably be that. And, that is what it essentially means is every time that you make a decision, a lot of times people think of the here and now. They don't think of the future. Right. And you may have heard the marshmallow experiment, where back in the day, they had these kids that, this is how they tested their delayed gratification. And they put a marshmallow in front of them and said, hey, when I come back, you're not allowed to eat it for 2 hours. And then they came back, and some kids ate the marshmallows, some kids didn't. They said, hey, when we come back, if you don't eat it, we'll give you 2 marshmallows. Well, some kids caved, and some kids actually waited and got 2 marshmallows. And they actually tracked the trajectory of their life. And it was like something like a 40, 50 year long study. And the kids that actually just, chose the delayed gratification, got the extra marshmallows, were significantly more successful, not just financially, but in their professional careers, personal lives, and everything they did, because they made decisions based on who they are going to become, not who they are now. Right. So guys, that goes for anything you do. That goes for if you're going on a run. Are you going to, if you tell yourself you're going to run a marathon and you want to bow out at mile 18, right? In the moment, it feels good. In the moment, it feels like the right thing to do. But tomorrow, when people ask you how it went, that's not the answer you're going to want to give. You don't want to talk about how you give up. It goes for sleeping in. You could either wake up and be productive, or you could sleep in. You remember tomorrow, right? What am I going to wish that I had done tomorrow? Well, I'm going to wish I would wake up and become productive. That goes for making phone calls. That goes for working out. It goes for eating healthy. But with this mindset, guys, this is the type of principle we teach in TLA, and that's one thing that changed my life. If you remember tomorrow, focus on who you are becoming, right? This is a quote I actually have on the bottom of this is the signature on my emails. It's do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can't. And, people think that today is kind of insignificant. They think that what we do in the present moment doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. And this is on one of my favorite podcasts I've listened to is back in the 80s, they did a study that, I believe they just asked, how many of you think you're going to be a millionaire one day? And 12% of people said yes. Out of those 12%, 10% actually had a plan to get there. They then did that study again, I believe it was in like 2008, 2010, something like that. And they asked how many people thought they were going to become a millionaire. 85% of people said yes. Out of those 85%, 2% had a plan to get there. So what does that show? Well, it shows that, a lot of people think that they're just going to figure things out, and they think that things will just come to fruition. They've been told that, you get good grades, you go on, you get a job, you work X amount of years, you make X amount of money. Eventually you'll get promoted to the 6-figure position or whatever it is. They think that things will just materialize, not based off what they are doing in the current moment. And that's the way that most people live, but in reality, guys, it doesn't just materialize. What you do today affects what you have access to tomorrow. It affects who you become tomorrow. And no matter how small or insignificant certain things seen, guys, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. It doesn't matter if you're cooking fries and flipping burgers at McDonald's. Doesn't matter if you're, sweeping floors. It doesn't matter if you're selling knives. Regardless of what it is, you are developing the habits of success. You're developing who you become in the process. And if you're sweeping floors, you better sweep the floors better than everyone else. You better do that with excellence. You better, take the extra step to pull the little piece of tape off the floor. If you're selling knives, that translates there too. If you're the person that in the gym tells yourself you're going to do 12 reps and then you end up doing 10, well, then you're also the person that at Phone Jam tells yourself you're going to make 40 calls and you quit after 20. That's what I mean by those principles of success are baked into who you become. And Andrew talked about the power of habit, right? Jeff talked about it earlier too, the power of habit. And guys, this is so powerful, right? If you can embrace this. And this is something that actually one of the division managers in Georgia showed me. It says success comes from small habits repeated daily, and failure comes from little mistakes consistently made. The line between success and failure, guys, is really small. It's just the little things that add up. It's working out every day versus, just the occasional unhealthy snack or whatever it may be, right? And you don't get fat from one time you eat something that has a ton of calories. It's the little things repeated over and over and over again that do that. That's one of the main things that we teach in TLA is how does the power of habit, not just with your money. We talk about the savings examples, but guys, this goes for literally everything in your life. If you're someone that consistently wakes up early every single day and gets stuff done, that will have an exponential effect on everything you do in your life. That goes back to the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. That goes back to do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can't. That goes back to remember tomorrow, right? And these are all consistent principles of success. The way you do one thing is the way that you do everything, right? And you need to create those success habits, okay? Another theme we like to talk about in TLA is there's no growth in your comfort zone. If you're on my team, you've probably heard this from me before, but guys, in order to be successful, you have to do hard things, right? And by the way, you guys already have done something. You're selling knives. I doubt this was in your comfort zone when you first started, right? But there's levels to this, is eventually you do get comfortable. A lot of you on the team, I can tell you are comfortable with it, but you need to continuously challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone in order to grow. If you only do things in life that you're comfortable with, you never grow. The key to growth is stepping out of your comfort zone and really making the most of it. Anything in life worth getting, well, takes doing things that are hard. If you want easy, go to jail. Jail is easy. In jail, they'll tell you when to go to sleep, they'll tell you when to wake up, they'll tell you when to eat your food. But if you want to accomplish anything in life, guys, you have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to do things that are hard for you. You have to do things that make you uncomfortable. And there's levels to this. For some of you, it's just starting a knife job. For some of you, it's, how can I have my first 2 or 3K weeks? For some of you, how do I have my first 10K week? For some of you, it's being part of the SE2 Alliance. I guarantee you guys, that's something that is designed to be a little comfort zone. There's a lot of media, there's a lot of extra coaching, right? It's giving a touch, but the reason that's there is because it's forced growth. Right? And that's what it comes down to, guys, is that growth. Andrew talks about this all the time, is how do you maximize opportunity? Well, it takes 3 things. You have to have a skill set, right? You have to know what you're doing. You have to have capital. You have to make money. You have to have money in order to take advantage of opportunity, right? Part of being a 5-star recruit is also having money saved. You're not a 5-star recruit if you're broke. And when you have money, guys, it allows you to, when you do have those options and you want to take advantage of opportunities, it allows you to chase a dream and chase something you're passionate about rather than chasing a paycheck. And number 3 is you have to have the network. You have to know the people, right? And there's a lot of things changing in the world right now around this, guys. And it's, I can confidently say right now it is more important to develop these, skill sets and these habits of excellence and success more so than any other time. The world needs leaders right now. We were joking in our office the other day that the amount of times we've heard people say, hey, with everything going on, I almost want to make a t-shirt, 2020 with everything going on. And it's become more critical now that you guys develop these types of skills than ever before. One thing that I don't know if you guys have seen, but Trump actually just passed a executive order that said hiring decisions from the federal government will be based off skills and merit and nothing to do with degrees anymore. That's huge. That's not to say that's the case with every job, but I guarantee you it will become the case with every job. And it already is for a lot of them. Companies are looking for skills and experience more so than they are grades nowadays. And that's going to have a trickle effect throughout the way that the world works, which is why, I hate to break it to you, but he signed that, I believe, 2 years ago. Well, the value of all of your college degrees just dropped a little bit. Just let you know. And it's become very important that you really maximize your skills and experience, because that's the way the world works right now. Another thing that I'm passionate about is how education works, and we're going through an evolution of education right now. Andrew talked about this at SC1, but, when we came up with our education system, it was based off, industry. It's based off how do you train people to, be productive in a factory, and it was in the industrial age. Well, then we moved to a period of knowledge, right? And that's, where our education system is now. We talk about, STEM, okay? We talk, science, mathematics, all that. It's all about how much do you know, right? But we are going through a dramatic change right now, guys. And, it's been going on for a while. Ever since the internet came out, it's been going on. But technology is changing it's changing the game. Technology is changing what it takes to be successful in the real world now. It's kind of funny. I was going on these job interviews and talking about what I was going to use from what I learned from college. Quite frankly, I got a finance degree from UF and not much that is even usable, even if I were in that industry. My dad is in the industry, and I kind of joke around about talking to him about it and told him about what I was learning in my class. He's like, yeah, that's called Excel. Like, realistically, you should take classes on how to use Excel if you want to be successful in finance. And, learning math. Why do I need to know this? And your teacher's like, oh, like, you're not always going to have a calculator on you. Well, yeah, I am. It's right here all the time. And we're moving into an age of skill set and implementation more so than knowledge. And that's not to say knowledge isn't important, right? If anyone knows me well, they know that knowledge is a core value of mine. They know that kind of like, I'm huge into reading. I'm huge into knowledge acquisition. It's not that it's not important, but what's going to change the game? What do you need to be successful? Well, I got 4 things for you. Here's how you need to be successful in the age that we're going into right now. Well, it comes to skill set. How can you implement? All right, skill set, implementation, productivity, and also learning how to think. It used to be so focused on what to think or what you need to know. Well, now it's more important that you know how to think, conceptual type thinking. That's how you learn to implement. That's how you learn to become productive, because the world is changing. And guys, ultimately, that's the stuff that we teach in TLA. That's the stuff. There's a big gap between what is being taught in school right now and what people really need. And TLA is designed to bridge that gap. And, here's the deal, guys, is I want to talk about what is TLA exactly, all right? And I know a lot of people on my team, we talk about, you're excited about it. And I ask you guys like, hey, could you tell me what it is? And they're like, well, it's, where they teach things you don't learn in school. So I want to go over a very clear cut description of exactly what is TLA. All right. So what is TLA? First of all, I can say that TLA, if you take part in the Leadership Academy, I guarantee you it will be the most valuable way that you could spend your time for the 4 months out of, exiting the summer, for sure. And it's how we train our upcoming leaders. It's called the Leadership Academy. We talk about how the world needs leaders right now. And it's basically the equivalent of taking a 1-credit course. It's about an hour or 2 per week, maybe. Usually 1 divisional event per month run by Jeff and Andrew. All right. And then usually 1 regional event of some sort. All right. So it's the whole East Coast. And, it's high powered learning, and it's, it's much like further, the value is much further than just a 1-credit class. It always made me crack up every time I was in college and going to TLA preps and just comparing how much I learned in an hour of one of those versus an hour of class. And I remember one of my first TLA preps, Jeff asked me what I appreciate. And I appreciated learning what we were learning instead of calculus. I haven't used calculus since I graduated. And so it's about a 1-credit class. And you can spend your time doing something like that through TLA, or there's a lot of 1-credit classes out there that you can take otherwise. I looked up some of the funniest 1-credit classes. At Appalachian State, there's a 1-credit class called Gaga for Gaga. It's about Lady Gaga. I don't even know what they talk about in that class. But Columbia University, an Ivy League school, there's a Harry Potter class. That class costs $1,630 to take. Cost $1,600 to take a class on Harry Potter. But listen, I read Harry Potter books. They're solid, but I don't know if I'd spend $1,600 learning about it. There's one called Sex, Drugs, Rocks, and Coal. I don't know how any of those things correlate at all, but it's a class you can take. There's a class at Georgia Tech called The Philosophy of Star Trek. So what I want to show you guys here is there's ways that you can spend your time with the mindset of what I was talking about before. Remember tomorrow. Do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can't. Or you can focus on the current moment. And TLA is completely free for everyone that's accepted. All our investing is your time. And we have a preset syllabus that we give out to everyone. We give it out at the Conference of Champions at the end of the summer. That's where people get accepted. And it's based on, time management, money management, people management, how to manage others, how to manage your energy. And really, I like to say it boils down to personal growth, professional growth, and financial growth. It really boils down to personal growth, professional growth, and financial growth. And when it comes to personal growth, guys, let me tell you this. Here's one of the most valuable things you will learn from this job. There is no employer in the entire world that is looking for people who are just focused on school. It cracks me up when people say they just want to focus on school. Those people don't have what it takes to be successful, straight up. I'm going to be very blunt with you. They're not going to be successful. Because the difference between a 3.3 GPA and a 3.8 GPA to a student is massive. To most employers, that doesn't mean a thing. Employers would rather have a 3.3 student who is an athlete, who is involved in multiple clubs, who is involved in something significant like TLA. Because employers don't want people who just work hard. They want people who know how to manage their priorities. And by the way, that's what the push teaches you too. It teaches you how to manage your priorities. How do you do the job like it's actually supposed to be done and manage your priorities? And I hear young people say all the time, it's like, Luke, I just want to be a student. But when are you ever, in your entire life, going to do just one thing? Why would you get practice at doing that? When you don't want to just be great in one area of your life. Nobody wants to be just a great father. They want to be a great husband or a great wife or great in their business. You don't want to be lacking in all the other areas. You want to be great at your profession. You want to be great at impacting your community, whatever that may be for you. But learning to prioritize, learning how to manage multiple things, guys, that is personal growth. And how do you consistently expand? How do you pretend it's a video game? And how do you level up in all different areas? Because the most successful people, it's not that they're successful with one thing. It has a trickle effect throughout their life. All right, number two is professional growth. We have topics in TLA like how to dress professionally, public speaking, financial planning, how to make a killer resume. Some of you might have heard of CVI, right? We do something called CVI, and it's a system of measuring people and learning how to manage people. And essentially, it's a psychometric testing instrument that teaches you how to manage and work with people based off their pre-existing personality types. It's pretty cool to learn. It's a very valuable thing to learn. We learn negotiation skills. I could say that before I could legally have a beer, I negotiated a lease. It's pretty cool. We want to provide you with the practical skills that you don't learn in school. Teach you to be your own boss no matter what industry you go into. We want to provide you with the best bullet points ever for your resume and the best topic of conversation for any job interview in the future. TLA is the bullet point on your resume, guys, that pushes off things like National Honor Society. Guys, I hate to break it to you. If you just graduated high school, I was the president of my National Honor Society. The day I graduated, that didn't mean a thing anymore. Same thing with probably almost everything you guys have done, for being real. And you need to start building the resume early on. More importantly, it'll be the topic of conversation for anything you want to apply for in the future. Imagine being able to tell them, hey, I took a course through where I work based on the pillars of professional and personal growth and financial development, and I learned X, Y, Z. That's impressive. That's what makes a difference. And that could be a game changer for your job interviews. Here's another thing with job interviews is even if you don't decide to stick with Cutco long-term, which when I was in your shoes, I didn't want to at all. But here's another thing it does is it helps you leverage and open up other opportunities for yourself. 2 out of 5 students only 2 out of 5 students find a job within their major. And our goal is that when you have this on your resume and you go through the program, you graduate with options because you've separated yourself. And it opens up doors within Cutco. At the end of the first 4 months of Leadership Academy, you apply for different management positions, and people can either go sell a second summer at a high level, make a lot of money, have a lot of flexibility. They can go be an assistant manager. They could be the right-hand person for one of our powerful district offices, or they can go be a branch manager. And when they complete the first 4 months, then they get put into management training to maximize one of those things. But it also leverages opportunities outside of Cutco. I heard one time there was a rep that she was going to do an unpaid internship. And it was actually like a dinosaur excavation site. She was like huge into anthropology or whatever it was. And it was an unpaid internship. And she told them and said, hey, I have an opportunity with Cutco where I can earn about $20,000 this summer. Well, because of that, they tried to recruit her away from it, and they turned that into a paid internship. I think one of the reasons that I got, job offers out of college and people trying to recruit me is because they were recruiting me away from the opportunities that I had, some pretty awesome opportunities, which I ended up taking. I had some people that raised offers financially and raised my responsibilities at those entry-level positions because of what I had available elsewhere. And having options, guys, it's not just about being able to take the options. It also gives you leverage to make all your other options better. And even if people don't necessarily continue with Cutco super long-term, they can still get a lot of value from Leadership Academy. The third thing is financial growth. The number one reason that churches, businesses, and even marriages fail is because of poor money management. That is the core of a lot of problems. And money doesn't buy you happiness, but being broke definitely takes it away. And, money is never the most important thing, but nothing we teach about leadership is valuable if you don't have a solid relationship with money. Francis Bacon says money makes a great servant, but a poor master. And that's an important concept to understand. Those are the types of things that we teach. And everyone grows up with a different view of money. A lot of that is the influence of how you grew up in your family. And it's important to get right with that as you graduate college and you go into the real world. Another reason that money management is important is if you end up opening up a branch office with Cutco, the company invests thousands of dollars into you to open up an office. You got to learn to manage that. So we talk about personal finances as well as finances for a business. If someone isn't great at managing money when it's small, imagine what happens when it gets large. A lot of people think that, I'll just figure it out once I start making a lot of money. It's not the way it works. If they can't do it when it's small, they're not going to be able to do it when it's large. And that's what we do in TLA. When someone's good at money, it's a result of making small, correct choices on a daily basis. We've had tremendous success with TLA alumni in making money. I know Mila was an assistant manager for me, her second summer on the job. And that summer, she had $20K not earned, saved in her withholdings account. Same with our other assistant manager that summer, Josie, also had $20,000 saved. Eric Palacio, I kind of came up in the business with him. He ended up, after just 2 years on the job, had $60,000 saved. I have a good friend, Joseph Koss, up in Virginia, one of my best friends. Right? He didn't even graduate college. And by the time he dropped out of college, he had over $100,000 saved. And he was 20 years old. Right? So it's not all about money, guys, but it's an important thing to get down. Right? So that is what is TLA. Right? It's a one credit course that teaches you those things, and it's free. Here's what TLA is not. TLA is not any more than 1 to 2 hours a week. When it comes to the fall and spring, guys, there's a few ways you can be involved with Cutco. There's TLA, right? It's a couple hours a week. There's a part-time rep. It's not as intense as the summer, but it is one of the easier jobs ever to be able to work around classes and school and everything like that. And so, instead of trying to do 20 appointments a week, some people just do 5 or 10. And then there's also an assistant manager opportunity where people in TLA can also play an assistant manager role, the ones that have a little more time to assist in some of our offices and really learn that at a high level. So there's 3 separate roles. And, some people do all 3 of those. Some people do 2 of the 3. But regardless, guys, when it comes to TLA, some people are nervous about the time commitment. It's not any more than, an hour or 2 a week. And if you can't make that work, you got serious problems. All right. And then management training takes place in the spring. And most people that take part in the fall also take part of management training in the spring, to help specialize where they're going to go. But, I've had people that did TLA and didn't end up becoming managers, but they used that knowledge to go on and do big things. We had reps back in 2017, Leonardo Mills and Luis Cordova. These guys are great. They're pretty funny. They used what they learned to go start a business, which is now a 6-figure business. They're about 20, 21 years old at this point. They just graduated high school when they started with us. And in 2 years, They do that. They now have a popular podcast as well. They have a brand on Instagram that has, I believe, 250,000 followers at this point, and they've legitimately built something for themselves. And if you ask them what was the main component of their success, every single time I love talking to them because they're like, it's TLA. Like what I learned through Cutco and TLA helped me get there. And I can go through countless stories. If you're from Naples and you've heard of Slicers, my buddy Grant ran a branch with us. He went through TLA. He was my right-hand guy for years. Slicers is a sub shop. Well, he's basically a 22-year-old who is running a franchise of restaurants, which is now expanding from Naples all the way to Texas as well. He's 22-year-old running that. How did he learn to do that? He ran a branch with Cutco and applied those same exact principles. So guys, right now it is more important than ever to be able to develop these success habits. It's more important than ever to be able to develop the principles of success. And, our education system is definitely appropriate for certain majors, but it also doesn't go all the way. It doesn't teach everything that people need if you genuinely want to separate yourself. If you genuinely have that same that I do, where you want to be average, you want to be above average, if not extraordinary in everything you do, there are certain principles that you need to get in place. So how do you get there? How does that happen? So what now? All right. Well, what now? I got 3 things for you as we finish up here. And that is, how does this work? The suspense.
Oh.
Number 1 thing, guys, get on Jeff and Angie's radar. That's essentially, if I had to put it in one sentence, that's how it works. How do you do that? Well, go big for SC2. Guys, there's a reason we have a push period at this point in the summer. It's when people buy the most, but it's also best time to sell Cutco. But go big for SC2. Think big for yourself. Small thinking never accomplished anything large. All right? Be a team builder. Okay? Ultimately, guys, TLA is our management training program. And if you want to be a manager, you have to learn to be a leader. You have to learn to recruit. You have to learn how to build big organizations. I think the most fun part of my job is building massive organizations. I find it so much fun. But the last thing, guys, is be a leader. Be a leader. And this is something that was big for me through this job. Is when I had first started Cutco, I had always been told, by teachers and stuff, it's like, Luke, you're a natural born leader. And I didn't really get what it meant. I gave the pregame pump up speeches for the football team, and I consider myself a leader, but go out and lead by example. Go out and be a professional leader. Learn how to lead at a high level. Because guys, right now, the world needs leaders. Right now, the world needs leaders more than anything else. And what does it take? Well, it takes those principles of success. It takes, learning those habits of excellence that you need to implement. And that's ultimately what gets taught. So I hope that was able to inform you. I hope that cleared some things up, because I know a lot of people are excited about TLA, but wasn't really sure what it is. And that gives you guys a solid sneak peek into what it is and a clear cut, formula for what happens. So that's all I got for you.
Outstanding. Guys, some light bulbs there, huh? How about 30 seconds? Write down some light bulbs from